தமிழரின் பிம்பம் உங்கள் TVI.
Welcome to CrossRoads on TVI, a show that showcases the Tamil Canadian community, their issues and their successes. I'm your host, Manjula Salvaraja. Today on our show, we will be talking about the highs and lows of engaging in social media. But before that, we'll speak to the popular Tamil Canadian YouTuber, Boy Wonder. Anoojan Vijaysri, also known as Boy Wonder, is a popular Tamil Canadian YouTuber with a huge following. His YouTube rants on everything from Tamil mothers, a particularly popular one, to Tamil birthday parties garner tens of thousands of views. And he has joined us to tell us why he does what he does. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So how does your mother is in one of these videos. How do your parents feel about this?
She's actually in quite a few. She was in one that I had earlier this week too.
Okay.
My mom's always been supportive of anything I do, right?
Okay.
Whether it be school, whether it be sports, whether it be anything. So they were understanding about it as long as it didn't affect anything else in my life, right? So they understood it was just a hobby. It started out as a hobby. Like, I didn't think people would actually like my videos, right?
Really?
So, yeah, they're really supportive, even my dad. I actually noticed that my dad shared one of my videos on his Facebook. Okay. So, and he didn't tell me, and so I guess that was his way of... Was
he like stoned-faced till he did that? Or
we never really talked about it,
yeah.
But one day I was going through his Facebook, and I saw that he shared it, so in my head I was like, okay, I guess he's okay with it, right? So...
That's funny. So what actually started off the idea for you? Like, what made you sort of think, oh, this might be something interesting to do?
Well, like, I didn't think about it on this scale when I started. I was in school. I was in my last year, and
engineering, right?
Engineering, yeah, at UFT downtown. This was in January, and in January I was just I was living in downtown at the time because I didn't want to commute, and I was all alone. I lived alone, and I was just sitting there, and I always complain about things to my friends, and they never listen to me because they're just like, okay, we don't care. So one day I got in front of a camera and I just started complaining about the library, like how like people come to the library and they talk and like I can't concentrate, and it was during exams, and then I put it up on Facebook, like just a video on Facebook, and people were like, oh, this is kind of funny, you know, you should maybe try YouTube. So then I started making YouTube videos, and then I never really promoted myself. I just put it on my wall or other people's walls, and then people started sharing them, and then it just became like a thing, and so I just continue doing it.
So what are some of the topics that you've done? Because I think our audience, some of them, I'm sure a ton of them would recognize you, however.
Well, because there's a lot of YouTubers out there, there's brown YouTubers, Punjabi YouTubers, but there was no really like a Tamil YouTuber, that like a vlogger that actually talks about Tamil topics and like rants about them and complains about them, and there's a lot to complain about, right? So I started off, my first video was actually the type of Tamil girls. So I was just poking fun at like, different types of Tamil girls. Like it was harmless fun, right? And I thought I would get a lot of negativity surrounding it, but it was like a lot of girls were like, oh, that's so funny, you know, I'm kind of like that. And like other girls were like, yeah, I'm like that too, I know somebody like this. So I realized that a lot of people could relate to my videos because they haven't seen this kind of stuff before on YouTube. So, and then I started branching out and doing like Tamil mothers, Tamil birthday parties, like different topics surrounding the Tamil culture that from my point of view, like we see it happen and we think about it in our head, but nobody really talks about it. Nobody really says like, you know, talks about it to other people, or this is like kind of weird, why are we doing these things this way, and stuff like that.
It's interesting because it's so true, because even when I watch it, I feel like, yeah, that happens. Yeah. Why is it that we don't talk about these things?
Exactly,
and why are they? So you actually talk about little things, little rituals in Tamil society that are funny and modern.
Yeah, I guess. Like, I think in one of my videos I talked about Tamil Samiti videos. And like a lot of people, like when we're young, we go and we don't really know why we're going or like what's happening. And like guys are like, why don't I have one? Kind of thing, you know what I mean? And like, and we always think about why we're doing this. So I just like poke fun at these kind of things. Like it's not, in no way am I serious about it, or no way am I criticizing it. I'm just poking fun at it. It's like it's just harmless fun, you know what I mean? But it's also funny because some people take my videos way too seriously, and like I'll see in the comment section. And
so you do get criticism as well.
A little bit, yeah. Because people fail to forget that I just do this for fun. It's not my job. It's not. It's just a hobby. It's my opinion. It's nobody else's opinion. It's just my opinion on certain topics that I feel that I need to share, because we all should share our opinions, right?
So when did you sense, when you started this off, like, was there a point where I mean, right now, if you look at your videos, you have tens of thousands of views across different ones. So when was that point that you thought, oh, this is really big?
I don't know if it's really big even now, but I mean, like, I think after I released Tamil Mothers, usually I release a video and like I get a bunch of shares on Facebook, and but after when I released Tamil Mothers, the next day I woke up and it was at 10,000 views in one day. I was like, wow. And then my Facebook page spiked to, I think, over 1,000 likes. And like, as the bigger you get, the more people see your videos, the more people share it, and it just goes viral that way, right? So at that point, I was like, oh, I guess I'm kind of onto something. But then at that point, I think after I released Tamil Mothers and a couple other videos, school started getting in the way, so I couldn't release videos every week, right? And then and then I think it was like a 2-month period where I didn't release videos. Maybe it was like very here and there. But now that I'm done school and I'm working and I have like my time structured weekly, I started releasing videos every Wednesday and Sunday.
How long does it take to sort of put one together?
Not long. I just need an idea. So I think of an idea, and then I brainstorm a couple of key points, and then I just get in front of the camera and I just start talking. Okay. And then I might talk for like 20 minutes, but then I'll start cutting it, and then it'll end up being 3-4 minutes. That's it.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, obviously this has opened some interesting experiences to you that perhaps, you know, what you had planned for in life before. You're going to be an engineer, have a sort of fantastic life in engineering, and that would have led you down this path. But this has kind of opened up. Is there one particular thing that you've done in the last 6 months that you thought, wow, this is what this whole boy wonder character has opened me up to?
Honestly, I'm still an engineer and I'm still working, and that's still my main thing. This is just something I do on the side. I just want people to get that straight. But as far like when I started doing it, people like different Tamil student associations at universities, they started asking me to host their events and like promote their events and stuff like that. So I ended up hosting the Dalam dance competition.
That's right.
Yeah, which was like a surreal experience because I've never actually been on stage ever in my life. Like in high school, in elementary school, I've never actually been on stage talking. That was totally not my thing.
And that's like a packed, really energetic audience.
Exactly.
Dalam, right?
There's so much like energy there, like so many people. So I was really nervous going up on stage because talking in front of a camera is easy because you can censor it. You can like, you know, like cut things out where you sound not how you want to sound, right? But doing something live is totally different, especially in front of like an energized crowd that you want to feed off of, right? So I finished that and I got a lot of positive feedback about it. So I felt really good about it because I felt like people actually were listening to what I was saying and were feeding off what I was saying. So with that said, like I understood that I had people being influenced in one way or another by what I said. And that's why, like, if you notice a lot of the videos that I'm doing right now, they focus less on the comical side, which I'm still trying to do, but more on trying to influence younger people to, like, you know, get involved in different things and get educated about different things, because that's what made me who I am, right? Being raised to know that, you know, you should always go to school, you should always try your hardest in anything you do. And even aside from school, like getting educated in school is one thing, but then getting educated on what's going around you, like different political matters, different social matters, anything that directly affects you or the people around you, you should get involved with that stuff. So that's what I'm trying to focus on. I'm trying to like get people involved, get people excited about other things, because because social media is a great tool, right, for that. And I'm trying to utilize it to spread the word.
So what are your next, I mean, it seems like advocacy, obviously you're advocating for causes and things through the videos that you, what are your plans? What are the next plans for this
so far,
this hobby?
Well, I take it week by week, so I don't really think about it in the long run, but like eventually, maybe if I can get it, like one of my videos that I'm planning soon, it might be next week or the week after, it's actually putting together a team, because I want to set a foundation. Because like I mentioned, education is a big deal to me, and a lot of us came here and were able to get an education, right? And I'm from Sri Lanka. I was born there and I came here when I was 2. So I know that a lot of people there, they don't have the necessities to actually go to school and like support themselves through school. So I wanted to start a foundation to support people like that and send money there. And through my YouTube videos, I feel that I could do that, because like if a lot of people are listening to what I'm saying, people would want to join me in such a cause. But I can't do it by myself, right? I need people need like a team that I need to put together for that. And I know there's things out there that do these things, but people generally relate more to people that they see, that they talk to,
that they already have a connection.
Exactly.
To. Yeah.
So like if I point them to a different person or a different organization and be like, hey, support these people. It's like, why would they do that?
It's not the same.
Yeah. Instead of like, come with me, let's start an organization. Let's do this together, kind of thing, right? And that way they know they're involved. They know that exactly where the money is going, exactly where everything's going. So that's the plan. Like I have that in mind. I haven't put anything to motion, but
we seem to feel we're pretty convinced that you'll get it done. So, yes.
Yeah, well, that's something I do on the side. I still have my career that I have to focus on and stuff like that, and because work is really busy, and so. It's
just time takes over, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, good luck. I think it's amazing to hear that you are going to be taking this momentum that you have and actually translating it into some social good. That's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much for letting us. And you're going to stay on because we are actually going to have a discussion / debate about social media. Social media. So we will now be playing. Your video, I believe it's the one on Tamil moms. And it might actually have a little piece about your mom as well. Who seems a wonderful lady, and we're convinced the reason why people are watching you because she's adorable. So regardless. So you'll be watching a bit of his video now. You are watching Crossroads on TVI with Manjula Salvaraja.
Tamil mothers can be so annoying sometimes. They have their own twisted logic about everything. When they're not busy telling you something, they're cooking.
Anoojan, chapter bango.
Yeah, I'm coming. I'm just making a YouTube video right now.
So how many of you are victims of their numerology logic? Like random letters in your name that are not supposed to be there?
Like 2 A's or 2 O's that I put into your name just so it adds up to the right number.
You wouldn't believe how many times I had to explain myself to teachers when I was younger.
So my mother put random letters in my name so I don't get cursed by the number gods.
My mom doesn't even let me go out on days where it adds up to the wrong number.
Apparently, if the date adds up to an 8, I'm not supposed to go out.
She also puts a huge emphasis on other people and their birth numbers.
Oh, don't talk to number 6 girls. They're trouble. Talk to number 4 guys. They're not.
I could write a book on the number of rules my mom tells me to follow with these numbers. Nowadays, all my mom does when she gets home from work is watch Super Singer.
I swear, Super Singer is taking over every Tamil household one by one.
Thank God my mom learned how to use the internet and watch this shit online.
Before, it was me going to the Tamil store every week and buying new episodes so she can watch it.
So for Christmas, I bought her a tablet.
Big mistake.
Now, she has more time to watch her Tamil dramas and Super Singer at the same time.
She knows more about what's going on in the lives of those people in the Tamil dramas than she does about her own son.
Although, their infatuation with Super Singer doesn't necessarily stop them from asking you 10 billion questions on your way out.
Where are you going? Who are you going with? Who's driving? Make sure you don't talk to any girls, okay? They just want to corrupt your studies.
And then when you're out, they call you again, asking you more questions.
Gee, guys, everybody shut up, my mom's calling. Hello? Any number? Yeah. I'm just at the library studying.
The worst part is, my mom doesn't even know how to go to sleep unless I'm home.
12 a.m., 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m., no problem. She'll be waiting on the couch.
And then I hate it when they start complaining to you about other kids. Oh, look at Nishan across the street. He's such a good boy. He's always at home, he doesn't go out, studies, and he has a part-time job.
But little do they know about Nishan's little drug addiction.
Let's start with our panel discussion. I've introduced Anoojan Vijaysri, but I'll perhaps do a short introduction again for anyone who's coming back on. He is known as Boy Wonder and is a popular Tamil Canadian YouTuber with a huge following. His YouTube rants on everything from Tamil mothers, which we saw earlier, to Tamil birthday parties garner tens of thousands of views. Lakshine Sathiyanathan is a recent Ryerson journalism graduate and a freelance journalist specializing in online and broadcast media. She has written for CBCNews.ca, CityNews.ca, and the Scarborough Mirror. Ravi Ravindran is a senior analyst at TD Bank and an avid volunteer with youth organizations in the community. He's an anomaly within his circle of friends for staying off of Facebook and Twitter for many years now. Is that right, Ravi?
Yeah, just not my thing.
Interesting. Well, welcome to the panel, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So let's start off with understanding sort of how much of social media that you use. Anoojan, what are some of the products that you use?
I use Facebook, obviously.
Yeah.
I use Twitter, and I use Tumblr sometimes.
Okay. And YouTube, which kind of falls in that.
Well, yeah, YouTube. I use a lot of YouTube. Yeah, that's about it, I think. Is there anything else?
There's actually, and I'll go through the definition I found in the dictionary later. Ravi, I know you don't use a ton of the others. What is it that you use?
Yeah, the only I guess social network type platform that I'm on is LinkedIn, and that's just more for work reasons. And I'm not an active user, but I think it's important to stay connected with in a professional environment.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I use LinkedIn too. I forgot about that.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay. Lakshine, and you?
I use Facebook and Twitter as well as LinkedIn. Mostly Facebook for personal use, Twitter for professional and personal use, and obviously LinkedIn for professional use.
Now, how much time do, and this is getting personal, how much time do you guys, like how many updates would you do a day across these different platforms? Or how much time would you spend on a weekly basis?
Facebook, I don't update all that often anymore unless I find like something interesting, like a news story or a nice video that I wanted to share with my friends, because that's more of a closed network, just like a bunch of friends I have. Twitter, on the other hand, I'm on it fairly a lot. Like anything that happens or anything I feel I need to tweet about, I just tweet about it because I have a lot of followers on Twitter, and they just generally want to know what's going on in my life, I guess. So I just tweet about it.
So how many updates roughly a day?
A day, maybe 5, 6.
5. Okay. And you said you're not, we'll come back to you in a second, Ravi. Lakshine, how often do you use these products daily?
Facebook, I'm not as active on. Again, maybe sometimes when I want to share my work or if I've read something that I found interesting, I share that on Facebook. I try to be as active as possible on Twitter, but sometimes I find that I can neglect Twitter. I try not to. I think it's really important to be active and maintain an active social media presence, but I have to admit that sometimes I can slack. But in terms of updates daily, maybe 5 to 6 updates on Twitter. Just if I'm out and about and I see something interesting or I read something interesting, I share it.
Interesting. And why did you say, you said, I know that you're speaking at it from a viewpoint of a journalist, you said that it was important for you to actually be on. You actually seem to be chiding yourself for not doing it some days. Why do you think it's important for you to be on Twitter?
I think it's important to be active and maintain a persona on social media because that's where a lot of our audience is coming from. And especially when you're young and you're in the job market, you want to show potential employers that you're bringing an audience with you, that you have this many followers and these people are reading your content, they're likely to share your content, they're likely to share whatever organization you're working with, that content as well. So I think it shows that you have a following and people are interested in what you have to say and what you're working on. So I think it's important to be as active as you can, and it's also just a great way to connect with people that you otherwise probably wouldn't get to. So I have to admit that I try to be as active as possible, but sometimes real life gets in the way.
Absolutely.
And as much as social media has been integrated into our daily interactions, like sometimes it's difficult to update as much as you want to, but I try.
Okay, so then that brings me to you, Ravi, because again I stated in the intro that you are an anomaly. You've told me that your wife, your friends, your family are all users of Facebook and other products. Why do you use it in such a limited way, or actually in the case of Facebook and Twitter, not at all?
Like with Facebook, it started off just because I didn't want the distraction. Like I don't have the time to be updating whatever's happening in my life. I don't have the time to be getting distracted. It's like being a kid at a candy store. Why expose yourself to so many distractions when there's so many things to do? The part that I find is a little bit weird about Facebook is people think of it like you're helping to create a social network. But I look at it as like, if a person has 500 friends, do you really have 500 friends? Because when I think of a friendship, I think of someone that I can be open with, right? I can share the ups and downs. But if I look at Facebook, it seems like everybody's having a party every night. Like everybody's living it up. And then look at it, it's like, is this really someone I can share, like when I'm happy, when I'm angry, when I'm sad, when I'm scared? And if I screen that, my 500 friends become maybe 2 or 3. And with those 2 or 3, what do I have? A picture sharing, a glorified Picasa. And even for that glorified Picasa, I'd say like, right now I'm not on Facebook, so when I meet people, they share stories and show me pictures. I'm fully engaged because I'm so oblivious to it. Otherwise, right? So I have the benefit of being surprised. I have the benefit of hearing all that experience, all that commentary that goes along with the picture that I don't think I would get from Facebook. And because what I said before about being distracted, if I'm on Facebook, I may have even not got to their pictures because I got distracted by a million other posts that were there.
So you're actually talking about that when you meet, you save that interaction for the richness of meeting them in person, and you actually listen because everything they say is a surprise. You haven't been bombarded with it. Interesting.
You know, that's a really good point that you're making, because I think that's lost in today's society. The fact that you go over and have facial interactions with people, and actually have that human connection with people and like share stories. But at the same time, I mean, Facebook wasn't meant just for you and your friends. It was a way of staying connected to people that you may not be connected with, right? Like, I mean, like the reason that you have, say, I don't know, people with 1,000 friends, I don't know what they're doing with Facebook, because I don't know how you can even know that many people and remember their names. For me, like if you don't remember someone's name, they shouldn't be on your Facebook, right? Like, it's for people that you might have lost connections with, like people that you went to elementary school with, that you went to high school with, that even though you don't talk to them right now, you still might be wondering what they're doing today, tomorrow, a year from now, 2 years from now. And which is good to know, right? Because you don't want to lose, like maybe one day you want to talk to them again and get a coffee or something, and there you have them on Facebook, and you can always give them a shout, right?
I guess where I get a little disturbed is like when people think of Facebook, social network, right? So you automatically assume you're connected, but the reality is that you're not. Like you are not connected to those people. And then, like a parallel analogy is like, it's like me seeing a label on a product that says fat-free and thinking that it's healthy for me. Right? And so I assume by the label that I'm doing some kind of good for myself and my life, but I'm actually taking it away from it. And so that's what kind of bothers me. Like, people say, Facebook, I'm connected to all these friends. You're not connected.
No, but that's your definition of connection, though. Like, I mean, if by connection you mean, are you still talking to them, or do you have maintained communication with them? That's one way of defining it. Or you can define connection as something that's there that you can easily access. Like you're connected to something because you're easily accessible to it. So if you wanted to get connected with them, they're there for you to access, right? And the same way you define health. Like health can be relative to different people. Like you can think that like certain things healthy, but to somebody that maybe works out every day and like tries to maintain like a really good physique, being healthy is totally different to them, right? Like it's all relative to
that's interesting, because you're actually you guys have actually are trying to define the word connection, right? And Lakshine, I don't know if you want to add 2 cents here, but it seems like what you're saying is that you can still have the rich conversations in person, but the kind you have on Facebook is something that you have on top of that.
No,
right?
Exactly. What I'm trying to say is, like, with some of my close friends, I'm not gonna write on their walls or like poke them or like share pictures with them, because I can just call them, or I can see them like tomorrow or tonight and talk to them about that.
And I guess that's where like the confusion is, because when you think social media, you think connecting, you think engagement, you think discussion, but it's not automatic. You have to make an effort to engage, to connect, to discuss. And I think the trouble is when we think that just being on Facebook and being on Twitter that you're connected, but like you were saying, like you need to make moves to engage and keep in contact with those people and have communication with those people.
So that brings me to an interesting point. There's a well-known author that's written on technology. She's an MIT professor. Her name's Sherry Turkle, and she penned a book called Alone Together. It's a great name, right? And the theme that runs through the book is that technology may promise social connectivity, but it actually makes us lonelier. So if I go on Lakshine's point, I'm just wondering if, because of the existence of social media, I'm curious, if because of the existence of social media and you have these connections, if people are not socializing anymore as much,
well,
do you think it's become a crutch?
I don't know about being a crutch, but I can see where the author might get at saying that Facebook or social media might get you sad, because when you're on Facebook, you post good things. You post like successful stories, or like you post good things in your life, like I bought a new car, I got a new job, I have kids, I got married, stuff like that, right? Nobody posts the fact that they got fired, or the fact that they failed a test and stuff like that. So other people see this and they're like, oh my God, this person's so successful. They only see the pluses of people's lives, because people only share the pluses of people's lives, right? And in return, people that may not have this yet or have achieved this yet, they look at it and be like, oh my God, everyone's more successful than I am, everyone's more happy than I am, everyone's partying, everyone's doing all in this more than I am. But in actual reality, people just post what they want you to see. It's all the image on Facebook. It's not their life. You can't just look at somebody's Facebook and judge them by like what they post, because there's so many things that they might be hiding. Like, we're not truly who we are on Facebook. We're just who we are we're just what we want people to see us as on Facebook. Right?
I think that's just like the nature of human emotion, though. Like, you tend to share your happiest moments with people. You don't want to hide that you got a promotion or that you were newly engaged or you just had a baby. Like, you tend to share your happiest moments with people, and you tend to grieve privately, and you tend to grieve with the people that are close to you, your close family and friends. So I think that it's just like the way that people behave on Facebook is just kind of an extension of how we would interact in real life. Like, you wouldn't go tell like a crowd of people that you just got fired from your job. Like, I always think of social media as like being on an open mic and just like talking in front of a large audience, because you don't know who's reading it. So I think the way that people share their positive moments in life is just kind of how we are in real life. You don't openly talk.
You don't go to a party and say, well, these are the 10 terrible things that have happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Exactly,
So I think that's just kind of the nature of human interaction, but just extending onto social media.
But you'd agree that it magnifies that? Like,
yeah, certainly, because like when you're in the public realm, you want to show the best version of yourself. So you're going to say, like, if you got a new job, you're going to say that you got a new job. You're not going to say that you got rejected for the other 3 that you applied for.
So if it magnifies your reach, it also magnifies the emotions that other people feel about that topic that you're talking about, right?
No, I think more than just that, like, comparison between my life and Manjula's life, or my life and your life, Anoojan. I think it's a lot more different, right? Like, if I were to sample like 100 youth that are growing up now, and I asked them, how many hours are you spending building relationships? So I think you can share all this stuff when you have time in front of other people building relationships. I think it would be less now than it was 10 years ago, right? So I think the introduction of all these technologies is preventing people from having that face time with people. So I'm in like I'm at events and people are on Facebook avoiding all this face time that they could have building relationships. And when that practically makes a difference is like, you see like young people coming into a business world and they're not ready for like social interactions. Like, you can't just email someone to get a request, right? You have to go over, walk to them, make sure they feel comfortable with you, get on the phone. Like, all those things we give up because of technology. And the one like pet peeve I guess I have, even I see to myself, is that because of technology, we expect like fast-paced conversations, right? You can't handle like a thought-out essay, or like just like I was speaking to my dad the other day, and he was just talking, and I haven't seen him in a while for whatever reason. So I was just hearing him, and I was getting impatient in my head. I was like, "What's the point? What's the point?" And then I realized, here's me. I made a commitment that I want to have a rich relationship with my family and loved ones, but somewhere along the line, I've lost the patience to just hear people out. And I think like, if technology has done that for me, has it really helped me in society? I don't know.
That's so true, because just yesterday I was talking to one of my little cousins. He's 5 years old. His mom was complaining to me about how he's always on the iPad at home. He's always on his dad's iPad. And I'm like, what's wrong with that? And she started telling me about how, because they're able to access information so fast, like, I mean, like, go to games so fast and learn about like ABC so fast, that when they're in school, their attention span has shrunk so much, because the school system hasn't adapted to the technology that we have right now. They still use a whiteboard, they still use a chalkboard to explain things 1, 2, 3, you know, like you learn this, you learn that, you learn that. But with the internet and the way technology is today, you can learn all of that in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to go to school to get a degree. Like, to know, I mean, I do need to go to school to get a degree, but to know the material that they're going to teach me, I don't need to know that. I don't need to go to school. I can learn that all on the internet. And with the way kids are, their attention span has shrunk so much that they're getting bored in school. They're not concentrating in school. They're not listening to what the teachers are saying. They're not listening to what the peers are saying. They just want information as fast as they can get it. And that's so different from how I grew up and how you guys probably grew up, right? Because we grew up not having cell phones in school, and we grew up not having Facebook. We had nothing. We just had interactions. If we wanted to talk to each other, we'd ride a bicycle to each other's houses, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Lakshine.
No, but I think that technology is just so deeply entrenched in our lives that you don't give it a second thought, and it's not just for like the tech savvy crowd now. Now your parents are on social media, your grandparents are on it, your aunts and uncles, and even like young children, like they're learning things so fast that I probably couldn't imagine having learned when I was that young. But I think it's all about just moving forward. Like, this is what it is. It's not going to change. It's constantly evolving, and it's changed the way that we live, and that's just what it is. I think that it's just about embracing that and just taking everything with moderation, obviously. Like social media will never, I guess, trump face-to-face interactions. You can't replace that. And I know people will always want to have that in their lives. It's just that technology is so deeply entrenched in our everyday interactions, and I just think it's about embracing it. There's always going to be cons to it, but there's a ton of benefits to it as well.
And you know, that's an interesting point, because someone I was speaking to earlier this week about this topic said the same thing. They said, it's interesting to have this debate, but really there's no going back. Once you got that first cell phone, there was no going back.
Exactly.
It just was going to become smaller till it becomes a chip in your brain, right?
Exactly.
So it's just the way it's going to go. So the question becomes, do you think long term, I mean, Ravi, you've spoken about that there could be, the way people are interacting in a professional setting is changing. Do you think that long term, the way we absorb information or the way we relate to people, do you see it changing with your friends now? Do you think it's going to change long term?
So definitely certain things will change, and I think as long as you use technology for the right purpose, yeah, go for it, right? But I think at a certain point, people will just be like, you know what, I've had enough of this. Like, the fad of Facebook's over, I'm going to go to FaceTime. I'm going to start the fad of FaceTime, and people, like, even for myself, like on my work cell, I have my data plan. On my personal cell, I said, I don't want a data plan anymore. If I need to, I'll find a place with Wi-Fi. I don't need to get a BlackBerry message. I don't need to get email on the spot. I'm not anyone important that needs to be connected to the world. And so I'm choosing consciously to disengage from all this information overload. And I think people will do that after a while.
Do you think so? I think that's a dying breed. I really, no, not to take anything away from you, because that's great. Like, honestly, the fact that you like that, that's amazing, because a lot of people, like, if you ask someone to give up their internet or the cell phone for a month, they won't do it. I wouldn't do it.
No, I'm not.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. No, hold on. So you got to be careful what I said, right? I said on my personal data plan,
oh,
I can't do it, right? So at work, I'm still connected. At home, I still have internet.
No, I'm saying on, like, say you have a 1 month vacation.
Yeah.
Then you'd be perfectly fine with not being connected to the outside world via data.
No, I still have access to data. There's so many spots where you can have access to data, but I think the notion that you need to be connected all the time,
24/7.
I don't need that 24/7.
Well, I think it's definitely healthy that you have data on your business phone and not on your personal phone, so it kind of creates a divide between your work and personal life, but it's just not possible for a lot of people, and a lot of people have that constant urge to be connected, and it's not just a 9 to 5 kind of day anymore for many people.
It's really not, because a lot of people I work with, they never turn off their enterprise email. Like me, as soon as I get home, I'm like off. Like, I don't even want to deal with that, right? But
so the question becomes, I mean, we've mentioned information overload, and maybe this is because it seems like Ravi is able to dial down. He's very, and I'm just as bad. I'm just as bad with embracing technology a little too much sometimes. Do you ever feel that it's too much, both of you? Perhaps we'll start with Lakshine, because you did say that I wish I used Twitter more. So you must sometimes find that life gets in the way. Do you think it's too much?
I think everything in moderation. Like, sometimes I kind of kick myself because, like, I'll be like out and I'm having a good time or something. It's like, but I want to capture that moment. Like, I have to tweet it, and it's just like, but then you miss the moment. And it's like, I'm so like concerned about, I guess, just capturing it that, like, I don't live it. Like, whether it's just like a sunset or just something crazy on the street, it's like I have to document it.
So you're almost a spectator in your own life.
Yeah.
See, that's something I don't do, and that's why I hate Instagram, because everybody always wants to Instagram everything. Before they eat a meal, they want to Instagram it. And like,
I'm guilty of that, but I don't have an iPhone.
No, but like, I'm not taking anything away from you, but like, people, they're too afraid to live in the moment because they're afraid they might not document it for the world to see. But who cares about what other people see? It's not about getting likes on Facebook. It's not about getting shares on Instagram. If it's your own personal life, like you don't need to document it, like unless you really want to see that 10 years from now. But like in the moment, you should just live it, you know. Unless you shouldn't go out of your way to document something. Like if you have a camera and like you know you see something, you take a picture of it. But you shouldn't go out of your way to like, you know, well, hold up guys, let's, you know, take a picture of this first and then do it. You know what I mean? Because I have friends like that. I have friends that like if we're eating something nice or like if we're drinking some special kind of champagne or whatnot, the people, they want to take a picture of it first. Like stop, let's take a picture and then proceed. You know? And I don't like that. I think that's,
you're interrupting life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. When social media gets in the way of your life, the way you're living it, then that's where you cut the thing. And keep in mind that I'm all for technology. I love technology. I'm a software engineer, so I love the growth of technology. I want to be part of it, but not to the point where it's going to disrupt your everyday life.
When you put it that way, it sounds terrible, but I mean, I will still do it. And I like to see when other people do it too, when they're having like a nice meal or they're having something sort of novel. Like I like to see it and I like to share it. And you know, that's how sometimes I find like new places to eat at or new places to go visit. But again, like sometimes it's like I want to capture it before I even sort of experience it.
So it's almost like a fight within yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're going to take a break now. You obviously have a lot to say on this topic. We are going to come back and talk a few more, you know, the lows of social media, but also the highs, because I think we should touch on the benefits as well. You're watching Crossroads on TVI with Manjula Salvaraja.
தயாராகுங்கள் தயாராகுங்கள் அட்டகாசம் அதிரடி தருகிறது கொண்டாட்டம் அரங்கம் நிறைந்த நிகழ்ச்சிகளோடும் வர்த்தக சாவடிகளோடும் அட்டகாச தாக்குதல் டொரண்டோ இன்டர்நேஷனல் சென்டரில் கொண்டாடு.
Platinum sponsors are Gary Anandasangare, Sasi Gunaratnam, Dragon Condos, Asians Textile, SP Solution.
Welcome back to Crossroads on TVI with Manjula Salvaraja. We've been speaking about the pros and cons of engaging in social media with a very engaging team on our panel. So let's take this, I know that I wanted to get into sort of the more of the benefits of social media, but I actually want to touch on one thing, which is something that Anoojan mentioned to me a while back when we were talking, the idea of self-esteem and how it's tied into people's usage of social media, especially the younger generation.
Right. Okay, because I feel like Facebook especially, they're used in two different ways by people in their 20s and people in high school or elementary school kids. Because now they use it as a tool to judge themselves on how popular they are or how people feel about them. Because I know a lot of people, they just put up pictures and just count how many likes they have or count how many likes other people get, you know what I mean?
This is from your younger following, because you have a lot of younger followers.
Because I have a lot of followers in high school and stuff, and like my younger brother was in high school, just not like he's graduating high school now, and he always tells me about like the friends that he has, like the girls and stuff, and how they're so keen on wanting to build this image of being popular on Facebook, because apparently if you don't have enough likes or if you don't have enough people on your friends list, you're not relevant anymore. And apparently not being relevant on social media is like a sin nowadays, you know. And I don't think it should be that way, you know. I don't think a kid that keeps it low key, or like maybe for him, like someone like in his case,
I would die in high school, you're saying. Yeah. I would have no friends.
Yeah, because you would be socially irrelevant, but really you might be the most like outgoing person out there, but you just don't want to sit in front of a computer, right?
So let me put that to you, Lakshine, because I've heard you say before, Anoojan, that you actually think that perhaps people under a certain age should probably not even have access.
They shouldn't.
So how would you feel about that, Lakshine?
I don't think that there's a way of keeping them off of social media when it's so entrenched in their lives. It's not like they don't know about it. And even if you try to prevent them from getting on there, there's always ways around it. And I think that like it's unfortunate, but it's just sort of a part of growing up. It's like that kind of sort of atmosphere when we were in high school or when we were in elementary school. It happened in real time, in real life.
In the corridors.
Yeah. You know, being sort of ousted from the crowd or being teased or whatnot. And now it's kind of just moved on into social media, into
a
the
virtual
internet
environment.
realm. And it's unfortunate. It doesn't mean that it's okay, but that's part of how technology is evolving. And I just think that there's no way of restricting use of social media for younger people. And I think it's also an important lesson for them to learn. I think that by going through these kind of experiences, that they'll be better prepared and more tech savvy when they're using it in the future. I think that it's become a part of growing up.
But if you go back and look at why Facebook is there, it's because you want to connect with people that you've lost connection with, right? But then there's no need for kids to use it because they're growing up and they're meeting people now. They don't need to connect with people they already know and they're getting to know now, you know what I mean? I use Facebook to connect with people that I went to elementary school with, that I went to high school with. When I was in high school and when I was in elementary school, I didn't need to have them on my face. Like if I had a Facebook, I wouldn't feel the need to have them on there because I see them every day. I'm getting to know these people now, and Facebook is for keeping in touch with them later, right?
I think that's the intended use, but like, do you think that like social media is actually used in that way? Like it's for connecting with people, but it's become a realm for so many other things. So even though its intended use is to keep in contact with people you might have lost touch with, that's not solely the way that it's being used, and it's not solely the way it's going to be used. It's used for good and bad. So I don't think that we can just hold on to this is what Facebook is and this is how it's being used, because it's not.
You raise a point about, you know, like kids growing up and you got to get used to being bullied, essentially. I think it's like you can't even compare the two because when it happens electronically, it's not as visible and it's really like painful, right? And so you're like, if something gets said in Facebook, it's like almost cascaded. It's a ripple effect across your internet
Don't get
world.
me wrong. I'm not like saying that it's okay and that it's acceptable. It's not, but it's just, there's just no way to police it. And I think that part of being on social media is learning how to use it safely and learning how to use it effectively. And it's terrible that that sort of stuff happens, but it's just become almost the norm. But I'm not saying that it's okay that you just deal with it, because it's a terrible thing to endure and no one should have to endure it, but it's happening. And I don't think that there's, like, as much as we try to educate young people and sort of promote prevention strategies, no one can constantly be there to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Sure they can. Mark Zuckerberg can do anything that he wants to Facebook, but he won't.
In the perfect world.
No, but he won't, because the majority of money that they make is because of volume younger users, right? Younger users are on Facebook the majority of the time, and that's a mass moneymaker. So social media is not going to do anything to stop that, right?
You can't expect it to police itself. I would think
they won't do it.
I don't know. Like, I think you could, if you were socially conscious, like even Mark Zuckerberg, right? I think he's
for our viewers is
the head of Facebook.
And a very wealthy man at this point.
Very wealthy, very bright person, right? I think he's in a position where, like, he could actually create, like, a value proposition where if you're a part of a school, then you can join that school, right? And so within that boundary, so you know whose kids, there's certain more constraints that are applied. And so the benefit out of it is like he still has users on Facebook who will eventually get the adult version of it. The other benefit is that, you know, you can put, the schools themselves can get involved with social media, put specific things on the social media platform where the kids are engaged, right? So I know the tool is going to be around, but I just think it can be leveraged in a very different way to still keep it safe, and help kids feel connected.
But then, kind of the flip side of that is like, is the onus on the school to be policing it and to facilitate it? And then there's always going to be concerns about are schools like overstepping personal privacy grounds? Like, so I don't know if, like,
it's easier said than done, perhaps.
If the internet realm is sort of open, like a jurisdiction where schools can really be facilitating. There's just so many sides to this argument, and I think that it could be like an entire discussion on its own.
But that's Facebook, right? But like, if we talk about Twitter, I feel that Twitter is amazing. I feel that it's one of the best tools to come out in a long time, because it allows information to travel so fast. Whether it be false or whether it be real, that's entirely up to you, because you have to do the research and you have to educate yourself on everything, on different sides, different opinions, and form your own opinions towards certain topics. But the fact that information can travel so fast on Twitter is, I think it's amazing, because you can find out something that's happening in Iraq or something that's happening in another country, like right now, like the minute it happens, and that's amazing.
So
right?
let me ask you that, actually, because that takes us into a question that I had about journalism.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just wondering what the effect on this sort of immediacy of Twitter is on journalism. Like, do you turn to mainstream media
No.
for your news?
Well, personally, for me, I think that mainstream media and mainstream news, they tell you what's politically correct and what they want you to hear. Twitter isn't like that. Twitter is not uncensored. I mean, Twitter's not censored. It's uncensored in the sense that you hear genuine, real news, people's opinions. Like, nobody's watching over Twitter and being like, you can't say that. On TV, on television, people are telling you things that they want you to hear, that's already been scripted, that's already been filtered, and they're feeding you information that you want to hear. They won't tell you like certain things that they don't want you to hear. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna get you to go on that last. I'm curious to hear what Ravi thinks of that point.
I don't know. Like, first of all, I hate the distraction of having my cell phone buzz for Twitter.
Oh,
so
you can turn that off.
Okay, so I didn't know that. But the other part is like personally, I don't want to get false information, and it kind of bothers me the fact that you're giving avenues for people to spread false information really fast, right? And that's how like.
No, but at the same time, then that's up to the person, right? If you're dumb enough to believe something really that false without looking more into it, then you should really learn and educate yourself, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, I completely get that.
If I came to you right now and told you that, I don't know, Obama is dead or something, you're not going to listen to me just because I said it. You're going to go research about it, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I definitely get that. I just think that as opposed to getting it via like a Twitter medium, just like random facts, I'd rather go online, and there might be a blog that an author that I admire. I'd rather read his comments, right? So for me, more important than the facts is some of the rationale and some of the explanation.
Okay,
right?
Say for instance you have a blog that you follow all the time, right? Like someone you trust. What if that person has a Twitter account and that you can follow them?
I just don't like the idea of me getting any kind of notification when I don't want it. I don't want it to be pushed.
I'm going to actually pass this. I'm going to pass this on to Lakshine, because we're now talking about journalism, something that you practice every day. So, are people saying that to you, that they're actually going to? Let's talk about actually specifically the incident that happened in Scarborough, with the shootings in Scarborough. What do you think? I mean, people tell me that they were getting their news from Twitter as well.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really great example and a recent example. Unfortunately, there is two really recent examples this week, both the Danzig Street shooting as well as the Colorado Theater shooting. Kind of jumping on what you guys were discussing, incorrect information. The immediacy of Twitter just makes that more likely to happen. For example, a 22-month-old was grazed by a bullet at the Danzig Street shooting. There were tweets going out that the 22-month-old had died. And having information out there like that, having incorrect information like that, especially when it comes to lives, is just, the consequences of that is just devastating, having incorrect information out there. And so Toronto police were sort of on damage control, saying that the toddler is not dead, like, do not spread false information. So the immediacy of Twitter just amplifies the chances of incorrect information being spread. And another example of, you mentioned about how whatever is on TV or in newspapers is sort of like a filtered, verified version. An interesting thing that came out of the Scarborough shooting was a Reddit post that's gone viral now, and a user had basically compiled sort of a timeline of events
using Twitter feed, right?
Of that night, who was there, photos, and he didn't he didn't claim to be a journalist.
I'm going to stop you for a second. I hate to do this. We've run out of time. But I'll post that information for sure, I promise, on Facebook, because that is actually a very interesting story. Thank you so much for being here. It looks like we'll have to bring you guys back on, because I haven't actually even gotten through half my questions yet. So thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, really my pleasure. That was so entertaining. I could listen to you for 2 hours. Here are my final thoughts for the show. This July is the 29th anniversary of the anti-Tamil programs of Black July 1983. I am now going to read a bit of the Black July survivor story of Kirthika Kulendran. She was a guest on our show a few weeks ago. These are her words on her memories as a child caught up in the 1983 riots, escaping rioters who were attacking a Ramakrishnan mission where she hid. The angry mob was inside and already hurt the chief Swami and damaged the pictures in the shrine. We were told later that trucks were being driven in to take us to refugee camps. We were loaded onto the trucks as if we were cattle to be driven to slaughter. As the truck turned onto Gall Road, I saw thugs walking with knives and the armed forces in their uniforms. There were not many civilians on the road, just broken shops aflame, but that's when I saw a human form being burnt alive. I couldn't make out if it was male or female, but I could see the head, torso and legs. It was still moving. A person who had family somewhere with dreams and hopes was being burnt like trash in the middle of the road. Very sad words. The rest of her story can be found on www.blackjuly1983.com. The CrossRoads team would like to let you know that when we learn these things, we remember. That wraps up our show for today. Thank you all for joining us. You've been watching CrossRoads on TVI with Manjula Salvaraja.
தயாராகுங்கள் அட்டகாசம் அதிரடி தருகிறது கொண்டாட்டம் அரங்கம் நிறைந்த நிகழ்ச்சிகளோடும் வர்த்தக சாவடிகளோடும் அட்டகாச தாக்குதல் டொரண்டோ இன்டர்நேஷனல் சென்டரில் கொண்டாடு.
Platinum sponsors are the Law Office of Gary Anand Sangare, Professional Corporation, Remax Vision Realty Inc., Sasi Gunaratnam, Dragon Condos, www.dragoncondos.com, Asians Textile and Giftware, the one-stop shopping center for the entire family, SP Solution for all your printing needs.
தமிழின் பிம்பம் உங்கள் டிவி.